Everyone, and welcome to another live match reaction show on Football Tour Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Ah, where do I begin? That was a terrible game of football to watch. It was a complete ball fest, and quite frankly, one of the worst performances I've seen from Liverpool this season. And we've had quite a few shockers, let's be honest. We'll deep dive and speak about the manager, which of course will be the big topic today. We'll speak about the team performance. So we'll do a quick match review and we will do player ratings. And if you'd like to call in, feel free to hit the link and I'll try and get you on towards the end of the show. So let's get into it. So in terms of the match review, or should I say more specific, the first half, it was such a boring game, especially the first half. I kid you not, shout out to Ozen, who was in the watch along sending his comments. I was conking out. I was falling to sleep. Um, during that game, I was nodding off. It was a tough watch, and I was nodding off probably 20 minutes into it, and I wasn't even tired before I even did the watch along. So that goes to show how boring that match was, and we barely did anything. And I'm really clutching it to talk about certain points or certain things that happened during the game. So, for example, Isak had a shot where he cut in from the left. Um, Tries to hit on target, but goes over the bar. Verts had a moment where he was through on goal, but unfortunately his effort hits the side netting. At the time, I thought he scored his first goal there, but it wasn't to be. From the Sunderland's point of view, they had a shot from their right back whom um, Ali parries it away onto the crossbar. Not the most convincing of saves, if I'm being honest with you. So was like, I had his shooting boots on because he took quite a few shots during the game. In this moment, his shot got parried away by the keeper. McAllister was probably the closest one to scoring as he produced a header just before half time, but unfortunately it hits the outside of the post in the second half. So Bozlai pretty much continued his shooting, had a shot from the right side of the box. Wild effort, it kind of went high and wide. But tried his best. He really did. He tried to make things happen. Um, had a shot that I thought, maybe it can be converted, but he got blocked by a very, very stubborn low block. And then they had the opportunity themselves. Aderete, the left-footed centre back, he produced a flash header from a corner kick. He also hits the outside of the post like McAllister did in the first half. But then they broke the deadlock. And slight luck in terms of the finish, because it was a deflected shot. But we gotta say how it is. It was poor defending from Van Dijk. Firstly, he gives the ball away, and then he turns his back as he's defending the shot. No, he does that far too much, in my opinion, and that's quite frustrating to see, especially when it's your captain. So at that stage, I just thought, how are we going to respond? Because normally when we concede the first goal, we literally fall to pieces. But there's only one player that showed a bit of courage, showed a bit of energy, and that was Florian Wirtz, and he doesn't get the goal. It's not labeled, as his first goal for Liverpool in the Premier League because it took a huge deflection. However, he was the only one positive. He was driving inside the box, left foot shot, and just about beat the keeper to make it 1-1. And I thought maybe we can, hold on to a win. But Sunderland almost got the match winner. It was the goalkeeper, Roofs, who hit a sublime pass from a corner kick. Literally had the striker Isidore through on goal. He goes around Allison, and at that stage, he's probably thinking, "Oh, all I need to do is pass it into the back of the net." But our hard-working attacker in Federico Chiesa saved the day as he was the only player to track back and make that crucial block. Overall, that was definitely one of the worst matches I've seen this season. You know, it was such a difficult watch. I can't even talk about the positives of individual performances because it was that bad. Now, in terms of the team selection, I personally didn't think it was a bad setup because it's pretty much the same team that played against West Ham, bar Robertson, with of course Kirk starting over the weekend. But the tactics weren't the same. They were a bit off, in my opinion. We were very, very passive in this game. We literally played in gear one throughout the whole game, showed no energy, no drive, no urgency in our play. Yes, it's difficult when you play against a low block, but you have to move the ball quicker. You have to utilize the wide areas to stretch the play. And you have to make the opponent work hard. You have to make them chase the ball. We were literally passing the ball sideways like it was a training drill. No real tempo at all. We lacked any tempo in this game. The Sunderland defenders were relaxed. They were in control. They didn't have to, go all guns blazing in terms of tackling, or they didn't have to overcommit in tackles. They were calm. Everything was played at a very slow pace, so they didn't have to move around as much. Now, I've said it for a few weeks. This coach has lost the dressing room. I stand by it. The victory against West Ham seems to have brought some hope, but I feel like that victory just clouded how bad we've been this season. The big question, which will be the talking point after today, should the coach get sacked? For me, 100%. But I don't think he will get sacked today or tomorrow. If people are thinking it's going to be an instant reaction from FSG, I think he'll be given another game. If we lose against Leeds United, then it's curtains for him. But we shouldn't have to wait until Leeds United. For me, it should be curtains for him right now. He should not be the coach. But the thing is, he'll present the case and tell his owners that, look, we beat West Ham in a very convincing manner. We kept a clean sheet and we got a point against a Sunderland team that are flying right now. But looking at the opponents, and I don't mean to be disrespectful because, of course, they got a point. But I don't think Sunderland were all that. They were defensively very good, very compact as a collective, and they were aggressive in their pressing. But we all knew that. We've all seen them play this season. We know what they're capable of. But if Liverpool had played to their level, it would have been a different outcome, in my opinion. The first half, we didn't even try. It was written off. And if I'm being honest, we didn't deserve the win. We only turned up after they scored a goal, so pretty much the last 15, 20 minutes. That's not acceptable for a team of Liverpool's caliber. We were shocking today. We really were. Not one player performed to their level. And that's my concern about our current crop of players. Excuse me. I feel like this team just needs a free refresh. Hit that reset button, and that can only be done if we change the coach. So FSG, they have to make a decision very soon because we can't keep giving this coach more chances. Yes, we got the win against West Ham, but looking at it now, defensively they were pretty awful themselves. So it wasn't a difficult game. Their style of play was to our advantage because they were quite open in the back. But I don't know. Something needs to be done very, very soon. Now, Whether you believe this guy is a reliable source or not, Indy tweeted just before I went live, and I'm going to read his tweet out loud. So take it with a pinch of salt because it could be complete BS, but I kind of want to believe it because that's how it should be presented now. Because for me, Slot doesn't deserve any chances. So let me read the tweet out loud. Indy says we were at Anfield tonight and we got some insider info about from a trusted LFC source. It turns out Arne Slot was informed in an emergency meeting last week that his job is on the line due to the team's poor performances. If Liverpool doesn't secure a win against Leeds United, another emergency meeting is set for Sunday/Monday morning. What's really concerning is that some senior players are feeling confused about the manager's tactics, which seems to change daily. This lack of clarity is affecting the team's morale and performance on the pitch. Fans are anxious, and it's clear that the pressure is mounting. The next few days are crucial for Slot and the club. Now, whether you believe that or not, it's entirely up to you. I'm not saying I believe it as well because it's a it's a social media source, so you got to take it with a pinch of salt. But I don't believe this is far off because I am so sure they would have had a meeting last week after that PSV defeat, and he would have been told if you notch up a couple bad defeats, you're out the door. He's got the win against West Ham, so he thought his job secure. This draw, on paper, in terms of how Sunderland performing and how terrible we've been, it's actually not a bad result. But I think you have to look at the performance today. We were decent on against West Ham on the weekend. Today, back to being terrible again. This is my concern, and this is the concern that I'm sure the players have as well because the tactics change every game. The word that we've all been using throughout the season, identity. We have no identity. We don't know what style of play we are as a team. Like it's all gonna well having different tactics per game. That's normal in football. But you still have an identity. You still know how to play a certain way. Are you a high pressing team? Are you a ball possession team? There's different elements, different sort of traits that is your DNA as a team. We don't have it. We don't have an identity right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if our players are confused by the tactics. And this is the thing, we'll have a good result, and in the next game it goes back to the old way of playing. And today I don't know what the tactics were, but the players just weren't on sort of not on form. Form's not even the right word. They were just not aligned together. Everything felt disjointed, and quite frankly, it's frustrating because we don't know what team's going to turn up. We get a win, so you're thinking, "Oh, this is happy times for us because we barely get wins, don't we? Especially in recent weeks." But then we're all like on edge, thinking, "Oh, how are we going to perform in the next game?" We all had slight reservations in terms of how we're going to perform today. And today we were shocking. We really were. So for me, the result, the scoreline is slightly irrelevant. The application from the players is not there. They are not fighting for this coach. They're not playing for this coach. So for me, the coach is the problem. You have to make that change. If you don't make that change, there's going to be such a high level of inconsistency from us. God knows where we're going to be in the league table. Like if you look at the points, we're eighth. I think we're eighth right now, but we're on 22 points. We're not, I think, 4 points away from fourth spot. So we're not in a disastrous position right now. If we had a coach that was more astute in terms of their way of coaching and for me having a high level of my management skills because this coach does not have it in my opinion. The fortune of this club can be turned around. So that's why I believe this is the time to make that change. Don't wait for the next result because if he gets a win against Leeds United, then he's been given another lifeline, and I don't think he deserves another lifeline now. For me, this should have been the cutoff. He didn't get a win today, so this should have been the cutoff. So I don't know. It's so frustrating to watch. But you guys know my thoughts, and I'm sure everyone probably shares some sentiment to it. Um, but yeah, it's tough times. It's dark times. Being a Liverpool fan, I that draw doesn't even feel like a draw. I feel like Sunderland should have actually won that game if it wasn't for Chiesa. And by the way, Chiesa just given the coach an extra few days in the job because, quite frankly, that should have been a goal. And it's ironic because the player that he barely plays is saving him on the hot seat right now. Make that make sense. Let me go through some of the comments and then we will move on and do the player ratings. Not that I want to speak about in too much detail today, just because everyone's been awful, but we'll do it in terms of the formality of the show. So, Bo, big up Bo, he says he needs to go. So boring, no plan. Enough is enough. The player that he hates literally saved his job. You're spot on, Bo. He literally saved his job. Wayne says, big up Aussie and chat. Big up Wayne. I hope you're well. Bo said we don't have an identity at all. You need to stay on long so we can't vent again. Ozzy, so much problems to talk about. To be fair, I don't know if I can do the 9 hour stream. I'm quite deflated. I watched that game and I'm falling asleep. That's how bad it is. So we'll try and do as long as we can today, but I don't know if I've got energy to do a long stream, if I'm being honest with you. Um Mostly what the F was Salah brought on, rewarding shitty performances with another shitty performance, yeah. That's what it feels like. Kratos, speak up Kratos, he says the first day of the window, Gay needs to be signed. Totally agree with you. Bob Van Dijk, Knatel, so poor. That's the thing. If we had a squad of at least 4 or 5 centre backs, I would rotate Van Dijk and Kanate. Van Dijk was terrible today. Kanate was better if I have to choose between the two. But throughout the whole season, Kanate has been woeful as well. So in these moments, you rotate. You know, if a player isn't on form, you change it around and try and get the best out of other players. And competition actually helps certain players, you know, train harder and work harder in order to get their spot back in the team. Van Dijk and Konate know if they have stinkers, they will be still playing the next game. That's the problem right there. Bo says, when will start then? You can't play Jones at right back. I'll be honest with you, Bo. I don't think Jones was a problem today. He was the reason why we got the equalizer. And at this stage, we didn't really have any other option other than maybe end up right back. But for me, that's not an option. That is the bare minimum. And I don't want to see Sabozza play a right back. So for me, I don't really mind Jones playing at right back because he didn't start that position. He played for the last half an hour. And I mentioned this in my match preview. I wanted Joe Gomez to start because of what he did against West Ham. But I knew he couldn't play longer than 60 minutes. He got some tune around the 64th minute. Um, and you can tell Joe Gomez looked tired as the game went on. So I don't think Jones is the problem as such. It's just the setup, the tactics. You know, Florian Wirtz played in multiple roles today. He scored his goal in a more central position. That's his natural game. Let players play in their natural game. I know you're saying in Chandler Jones at right back, but that's a makeshift position because of the injuries we have. But hopefully we'll have Conor Bradley available in the upcoming fixture against Leeds. Well, it says, did you notice that Jones and Verts look to be developing a good understanding of each other? Yep, I have noticed that, to be fair. Jones, for me, you know, he's always done well with attacking players in terms of, you know, understanding the way they move and the runs that they make. Um, so it only benefits the team. You know, the goal came from Jones's understanding of, you know, where Verts was. So Jones, for me, I think, you know, he does get unfair criticism at time. And today I don't think he deserves any negativity, to be fair. Bo says, I have never wanted a team to lose, but if that means he gets sacked if we lose versus Leeds, I'm all for it. That speaks for itself. Starts taking out all the intensity in both players and fans. Totally agree with you. We play with no energy. That makes no sense to me. You watch 5-year-old kids doing football lessons, and they've got more energy than this team because you're happy to play football. You're running around. You're having fun. So I'm taking the fun out of football right now with these players. So they're confused. They're not in the same tune as the coach because his tactics change on a day-to-day basis. And I genuinely believe that. I think they'll train a certain way for one game, and then training is completely different. But when you have an identity, it's only small tweaks where this is how the way we play. Look at Klopp's teams. We knew the identity. We'll make small tweaks here and there. There's a personnel, but nothing major where we become a very attack-minded team to a very cautious team the next day. Doesn't work like that. So, it's very, very frustrating to watch. Kamal says, hi, Ozzy. Liverpool are so boring to watch. Tell me about it, Kamal. I generally nodded off for a split second during my watch along, and I had to lean back. I had to recline my seat. I just couldn't, you know, try my best to give you my take and the way I was seeing the game. I clocked out a long time ago. But also, why did the kid save that? That ball, just let it go through your legs. Look, he's going to fight for the team. That's his nature, and I can't discredit what he did because that's what you want from your players. That's what you want from. I don't want to be disrespectful because he shouldn't be in this position, but that's what you want from your subs when they come on to present the energy, give it all. But he should be allowed to do that from the start. He should be given more opportunities to start in this team. Don't know what the problem is, but there clearly is a massive one between the two individuals. In the oh sorry, Wayne said, Ozzy, have you seen the indie post? Yes, just presented it. I look, whether you believe it or not, I kind of see that being real life right now. It's not far off, let's be honest. Come on, say yes, stopped out 100%. I agree with you. Come on. Boss says, did that post mean he will lose his job, Wayne? We're getting close to it. So I said this last week. I didn't think he was one defeat away from getting a sack. I think it would have been two results. Or not two defeats on the bounce, because yeah, then it's definitely getting sacked. But this draw felt like a loss. And if we're to lose against Leeds, then Leeds won today, right? Against Chelsea. So let's see what happens. Boss says, what would it take? Wait, so apparently if he loses to Leeds, it could be on Monday. Yeah. Oh, says FFS. We all just know he will win that game, but then lose the next two. Nothing changes. The thing is, the next time he loses, he needs to go. It's as simple as that. That has to be the ultimatum. The next time you lose, you're out of a job. Not two on the bounce. Next one now. Because for me, this draw, I'm counting as a defeat. I don't care if Sunderland have been in great form. We should have been this team today. We could have been this team, in my opinion, but we just didn't turn up until the 80th minute. That's what it felt like. Bosses didn't look like he was worried or under pressure at all after the game. They were smiling like a prick. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Bosses, did the board even see our game seriously? What did they see in the performances that keeps him in the job? I don't know. I think it'll be based on what Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes believe and what their vision is. I hope they're doing some work in the background, as in trying to find the next man to come through. because it can't be where we continue these poor results and all of a sudden, oh shoot, who do we get in? There needs to be a plan embedded right now. Wayne says, I'm starting to get that feeling that he won't get sacked. Look at the similarities with United and Amrim last year and Arne Slot this season. I'll be honest with you, Wayne. I hear it. It's not what I want to hear, or it's not what I want to agree with, but I do hear it because most managers would have been sacked by now. If you're losing, I know we've played more games, but at the time it was, 12 games, 9 defeats, right? Most teams that are playing that level are in the relegation zone. And even those teams would have sacked the manager right now and brought in Sam Allardyce or Tony Pulis as an example. So this is my concern. If they've not sacked him based on that, maybe they feel like, you know what, we can't find a worthy candidate to come in and settle the ship now. So let's just stick with him. And in the summer, we'll find the next candidate because there'll be a sort of a larger pool of managers available based on, certain jobs finishing or managers that are in the World Cup, they'll be available for their next role, I guess. So I don't know. Let's see. I hope you're wrong. But I do hear what you're saying. Boss is exactly when we were moving like United. Yes, we are. Laurie, big up Laurie. This is one of the worst performances on the slot. Yeah, it was an absolute ball fest. Couldn't believe what I was watching today. Boss says Jones used to play midfield just like Sobol played Ramsey at right back then. What's happened with Ramsey? I don't know if anyone knows because he's not even been selected in the squad. And I don't think he was that bad against Crystal Palace. Like, of course, we lost that game, but individually, he actually performed quite decent in my opinion. So if he's played against a Premier League opposition and did a decent job, why is he not a viable option for us right now? And I agree with you, Bo. If Ramsey was part of the squad, I would have started Ramsey and rotate with Joe Gomez until we get Conor Bradley and Jamie Frimpong back. But this match, I don't know what his issue is. He might not be, at Premier League level, but right now we're in desperate times. Most clubs would go to their youths, in this kind of situation when you don't have players available. But our coach doesn't seem to do that. He just wants to play players in makeshift positions, and it's not just like a one-off. It ends up being consistent games. So you've disrupted the momentum of the team, and also you've made someone play in a role that they're not familiar with, so they're not going to be confident, and you end up adding more weaknesses to our setup. He's lost it. He doesn't know what he's doing right now. That's what I get from Slot. He's got no control. He's got no sort of idea in terms of how to manage this team, which is crazy to say out loud. Kratos says our tactics are so poor. Why is our whole game so reliant on our wingers beating their man and creating something? Our wingers aren't dribblers. It's facts. Our wingers don't take on the fullback. They are not out and out wingers in that way. Because I know in final that was his style, his philosophy, and that's why he had proper wingers doing that. But we don't have those type of players in our team. Gakpo likes to cut inside and shoot. Salah likes to do the same as well. So you've got two similar players on both wings. Both wingers wanting to be inside forward. So you're not playing with wingers then, are you? I don't think he has any idea in terms of what he's doing right now. Both says Jones needs to start every game. I agree. But whether Slot does, it's another debate. Lloyd says we got played by a team who came here to part of the bus in a 5-4-1. We are one of the worst teams. We can't tackle and regain the ball. The worst coach team in the league. Facts, Laurie. I can't counter that at all. Yes, I know it's difficult to break the low block, but the thing you've told everyone the blueprint to how to beat us or get something out of us. You've told everyone we can't beat a blow block and we can't do it with long balls. So make that make sense. For me, that's not acceptable. You are the coach of Liverpool Football Club. If you don't know how to deal with a low block team, you're at the wrong job. You're not credible to be a Liverpool manager. And to say so publicly as well, outrageous. Bo says, why did Gakpo move infield next to Isak when Borough won the ball down the left? Gakpo needs to stay wide so Robbo have an option down the wing. You always have to play it back to Virgil. It's probably a tactical plot from the coach. But then again, Gakpo likes to cut inside. So obviously these are instructions given to the coach. So we can't base it on that, oh, this is what the player wants to do. But I feel like with Slot, he overcomplicates the tactics. Look at the wins with what with there's not many, so it's probably easy to talk out loud, but look at the wins that we've achieved in the last few weeks. We played with a settled back four. When I say settled back four, our fullbacks are not inverting, you know. So with that, you've got a better balance. You've got players defending, and then that is the solid foundation. That's why we've been, successful in those games because you've allowed the midfielders to play as midfielders and you've let attackers be attackers. All this inverting thing where they're occupying, like if your fullbacks are occupying midfield roles, that's made it congested, and you don't really have any more width. And you're thinking your width is supposed to come from your wingers, but they're coming inside. We're all just in the middle. So how are we going to stretch teams all being central? Doesn't make sense. Ball says, is Double D still slot in? I don't know. We'll have to get Double D's opinion. I'm sure he's watching live, so I'm sure he'll comment soon. Lloyd says we got our play by team who came here to part of the bus. I think this is the same comment, but they just added slot out. I agree. Bosses, do you think they talk to managers now, or at least the agents? Got to do both. For me, you got to do both. If they haven't done it so far, I'd be really annoyed with this club, and that will tell me that they don't want to replace him. That they'll ride until the season finishes. That's not acceptable. To spend that amount of money and buy the players that we bought, and you feel like this season we can just have it as a one-off or as a free hit that look whatever happens happens, but we're sticking with this coach, then you guys have lost the plot as well. Then I question Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes because this is crunching time right now. We've just approached December. We're going to go through a high volume of fixtures. If we had a coach that got these players playing right now, we can save the season. I'm not saying we're going to win the title or anything like that, but we can fight. There is no fight in this team. That's my problem here. No energy, but there's no fight either. Like we're very soft right now. Like people or teams know how to play against us, and they do it in a very comfortable way. They're not even sweating most of them. It's light work to play against Liverpool. Anfield used to be a fortress. Now it's not a fortress anymore. S- You know, all that hard work that Klopp has done over the years is going down the drain. We're a mid team right now, and that's not acceptable for a club like Liverpool. Boss, sorry for being angry, Ozzy, but this is so dark times. Love to you and the chat though. Well, no need to apologize. Appreciate you sending your comments and your thoughts and engaging in the chat. You don't have to apologize. Everything you've said is valid. It's not reckless, so no need to apologize at all. Abdul says FSG needs to be serious to sack him. Yeah, that's true as well. I don't know if they are serious or not. Lucy said we need to salvage our season before it's too late. Facts, Steve. This is what we need to do now. If we can change the coach, the season can be salvaged now. It's as simple as that. But the longer we leave it, the more in a difficult position we're going to be in. Like if we stick with Slot until end of December, we can still be back down to the second half of the table. What's the assurance that we're going to be in the top half or near the top four? There's no assurance. Just because we're Liverpool Football Club, no, we don't deserve to be there because we have been terrible this season. So things need to change. And unfortunately, it's not nice to say someone needs to, leave in order for a change. But Slot needs to go. Simple as that. When it says, "Do you think we are hoping Madrid will sack Alonso soon?" Because I can't lie, I'd be on the phone to them asking if they want to swap. They wouldn't take Slot. But I heard a rumor that if Madrid were to drop points today, he would have got the sack. But I believe they won 3-0. I think that was the scoreline that I saw earlier on. Let me see what was the final score. So yes, yesterday it was 3-0. So and they're back. Uh, where are they in the league? They are 1 point away. So who knows in terms of if that is the case. But I would be talking to his agent and say, look, if you guys aren't happy there, you know, we'll take you on because at Liverpool you'll be highly respected. You'll be treated with the utmost respect because we valued you as a player and we've got a fondness towards you. So you got to paint that picture for that guy to come because if he's getting mistreated or not being valued at the club, whether it's down to players' ego or whatnot, you've got to show that he's wanted. And I feel like Alonso, I'm not saying after one pitch he'll come, but he could be a future Liverpool manager. So that's the way I would look at it. To be fair, to lose seriously, or is it already too late? I actually don't think it's too late. I genuinely feel like if we had the right coach in place, because I'm not really questioning the players' quality. I know they haven't performed this season, but I think that's down to the coach and his tactics. If we had a proper manager or proper coach that played the right system or allowed the players to play in their natural positions, then then I think he'll get the best out of these players. I think we'll get results. So that would definitely salvage the season. I'm not even gonna make outlandish sort of comments and say, "Oh, we're gonna win the Champions League or we're gonna win the league." No, that is by far out of the topic. You know that is excuse me that is dreamland stuff right now. We just need to get back on track and compete. But with this coach, we're not competing. We are chasing to climb up that table. But it's like we take one step forward with a good win, and then we take two steps back with a defeat or a draw. So where's the consistency going to come from? That's my concern with this coach. Whilst Slot has his favourites, and Ramsey's not one of them, just like Endo, Rio, Chiesa, so frustrating and arrogant. In this situation, he can't really have favourites. If that's how you roll as a manager, you're not a credible manager. You're going through a tough time. Forget your philosophy or forget your agendas with players if they don't fit your way of playing. If you have players available for certain positions, play them. It's as simple as that. We don't have the luxury of rotating everyone because we don't have a right back. We don't have backup for our centre backs. We've got, a left back that's a new signing that's underperforming. We've got another left back who unfortunately can't play every game now due to age and you know, not being able to play with such intensity anymore. We've got a midfield that do not have the legs for whatever reason. We've got one player that's been a star performer, but he's been become the James Milner of our team, i.e., he's been playing every role bar goalkeeper. You've got a generational talent in Florian Wirtz, but you misuse him. You've got two strikers that haven't been given a chance to play together. You've got a right winger who has been below par and is only in the team due to reputation. And then you've got a player in Gakpo who, for me, is stat padding this season. I.e., he's getting the goals and assists, but his performances have been average. Got a lot of issues in this team. Laurie says Isak, 125 minutes striker, touched the ball 16 times in 86 minutes, doesn't play Isak and Ekitike together. Plays Gakpo every game instead of Chiesa, clueless manager. I totally agree with you, Laurie. I totally agree with you. An awful decision. Oh, sorry, an awful tactical decision once again. Yep. Tactics are all over the place, to be fair. Um, to lose seems to why does Slot distrust Chiesa so much as I have no idea. And if it's down to a simple thing like, oh, he wasn't my signing, then game out the door. Because I don't need a coach that is so ego driven that he's annoyed that someone wasn't his official signing. Your title is coach. I've been calling you coach throughout this whole stream. You're not a manager. A manager has a bit more authority where they can, call the shots in that regard. You are a coach. You are there to train the players at your disposal, not to think too far ahead. That's Richard Hughes' job to present players in order to improve the team. And when you need to have those conversations, that's when you have it. At that time, we needed a case. We needed another attacking option in our team, a cover for Salah, which we've not had for years and years. And this is old news. Like Chiesa wasn't just signed this summer; he was signed last year. So he needs to forget about his ego right now. He needs to play Chiesa. And I don't know Gakpo's situation. Was it tactical or was he injured? But if he's not available and Chiesa doesn't start, the agenda is already obvious, but it's even more so. And I feel like he should probably just get sacked alone for not playing Chiesa, in my opinion. Bo says we need double D on. If he's on, I'll bring him. I'll send him a link, but I'm not sure if he's on because he's not commented so far. Do you see that that's exactly what FSG will do? They probably think his credit in the bank lasts until at least the summer. Yeah, that's terrible management there. If they're real businessmen, they'd be ruthless and be cutthroat in this moment and get rid of the manager. But let's see. Let's see what they're made of. Bo says we have one win out of four after international break and all the games. Excuse me, we should have won and needed to win, and he's still in the job. Was the easiest run out of all the clubs in the Prem. Yeah, it's not a tough run that we've got coming up, but every game we're thinking, bloody hell, are we going to win? Like we've got no confidence because we don't know what team's going to turn up or what tactics are going to be deployed for that match. That's the difference there. Mostly, I could honestly see Slot take the United job if Amarin and him get sacked. He's that arrogant. I wouldn't. If he's sacked, honestly, and I don't mean to be disrespectful because obviously I appreciate, he won the league for us. But after that, I don't really care what he does. I really don't. Delicious, name the top three that can get a tune out of these Ferrari group of players. Top three in terms of managers. Um, in terms of being realistic, I'm not too sure, but Klopp, Klopp can definitely be the coach that brings them together. Whether he wants to come out of semi-retirement and coach again, it's another debate. Tactically, I don't think this coach is up there, but I think due to his status, some may laugh, but I think Steven Gerrard can get something out of these players because he will know how to utilize the attacking players, especially. But I feel like he'll get them playing with a spirit where you fight for that badge, and that's what we're lacking. If that application was there, then things will start to click, in my opinion. But when you're not moving around, when you're not showing any energy or fight, you've already lost the battle before you've even stepped onto the pitch. That's my problem there with Slot. He's not motivating these players. He's not getting these players energized, or they're not playing with any determination. This has to come from the coach. And look, I'm not going to make this. Of course, we suffered a huge tragedy in the summer. If the players are struggling, as a club, it's your responsibility to look out for these players. I don't know what happens behind the scene, but whether they got to see a therapist or whatnot, that's a internal issue. But my point is, as the leader, you are supposed to motivate these players. That is what you're being paid for. And then you bring tactics and all that stuff. Like it's not just you being a tactician. You have to be a man manager as well. You have to manage people the right way. You have to create a harmony and spirit within the group. But I don't see that with this coach. Look at us fans. I can't speak for everyone here. I don't feel a connection with this coach. I don't. Maybe because we had, big personalities over the years, the likes of Jurgen Klopp's. But there still has to be something there, in my opinion. Now, in terms of the top three, so I would say Klopp, Gerrard, and Alonso. Whether they're realistic or not, I think these coaches can come in and do it, in my opinion. Wednesday, if we get a new manager before the FA Cup starts, we could go on a cup run. Yeah, possibility. Both says Klopp, Inzaghi, and Gerrard. Both say he literally put an out of form player Salah on the field to put Verts out of position once again. Versus 10 not left wing. Yeah. Both say play your informed players and take out the out of form players. Simple as that. He's complicating the game. That's how it is, unfortunately, Bo. Toulouse Steve says once again we are the laughing stock of the Premier League. Leeds beat Chelsea 3-1. No guarantee we'll get a result this weekend if they're playing like that. And it is at their stadium as well. Wayne says to our boy, is he out of form or is he done? A popular opinion, but I'm starting to think he's done and should be sold. Is that in regards to Salah? I just wouldn't play him every game. I'd utilize him differently. Like I'd play him. I'd play him in a more central position. I've said it for weeks. I've probably said it for years. When Arne Slot joined, and when I knew the 4-2-3-1 is his formation, I thought this is a great chance to change Mohamed Salah as well. Play him as a number 10 or as a number 9 because he's renowned to be a finisher now. Don't make him do the hard graft on the wings. He's not that player. He's older now. We've got to use his strengths to our advantage, i.e. he's a finisher, he's a creator. But he can do it essentially. He doesn't need to be out wide. So that's what I would utilize Mohamed Salah. I don't know if this coach has the balls to do that. That's another thing as well. He probably felt proud of himself that he didn't start Salah 2 games, but end of the day, you brought him on at half time. And I wasn't very confident about him when he came on as well. And we just looked a bit disjointed. So Dulu Steve says we need that game to see how they'll dominate us. But either way, he should not play at this moment. Could be his legs gone though. Yeah. But the thing is, his focus is probably on Egypt now. He's probably going to go there in a couple of weeks' time. So if Slot is still here when Salah's at AFCON, let's see what tactic he plays because this 4-4-1-1 formation is not a long-term solution. It's not the formation I want to see. I want to see a 4-4-2 diamond. I feel like that's the formation that will get the best out of the current crop of players. Slot doesn't see it that way, unfortunately. But also, if the coach and the players were hurting of the loss on Diogo, they shouldn't be smiling after each game we don't win. If they are crying, then it should be a different position. I hear you, but my point was more so that if there are players struggling, you have to give them the help that they need. So if they need to speak to a therapist or whatnot, that needs to be in place. They're probably doing that for all we know, and it's just not made public. And I'm not saying this should be an excuse, but this has to come from your coach. This has to come from your leader. You have to manage these players correctly. And if the players aren't in the right space of mind in certain parts of the season, then you've got to rotate. That's how I'm seeing it. But I don't know. I just feel like he's got so much wrong that just put him out of his misery and just bring someone in. Let's just refresh everything and hit that reset button. When he says, yeah, I'm starting to think Salah is done, I'll be honest with you guys. I think this is his last season. The way he's playing, the way, unfortunately, for his point of view, he's been dropped to the bench twice now. That will hurt his pride a little bit. I don't think he will be here past the summer. There's already been rumors circulating that teams in Saudi want to bid in January. If that's true, that could be a viable option. But I think he potentially might leave next summer. That's just my guess. And to be honest with you, if he's feeling discontent about his new role, as in, because I feel like he should be a bit more of a squad player now. When I say squad player, I don't mean he's out cold like I'm like not Chiesa level, but in rotation with whoever. Then the writing's on the wall. So let's see. But for me, Salah's not the problem. I repeat, I don't think Salah is the problem. There's a lot of players that aren't playing to their ability. It comes from the coach. That's what I'm saying. So also could be that he shouldn't be playing, starting off the balls. He's the only 33 old winger in the Premier League. I said this a couple of weeks ago. In this modern day, a winger is a young man's game. It's not a 30-year-old's way of playing. Look at the best in terms of the Cristiano Ronaldos and your Messis. Messi played right wing predominantly in his career. Of course, can play number 10 as well. Cristiano Ronaldo played left wing and right wing, but as they got older, they moved more centrally. That is a natural transition for those type of players because you don't lose shooting ability, or creativity. You might lose your legs in terms of speed and stamina, and you might lose that burst of speed when you're on the ball, but you don't lose your technical skills. But I don't know why we still play him on the wings. I've been saying it for about a year or two now. He needs to play him in more central role. Yeah, just do exactly so what I just said because I've said this a couple of weeks ago. I truly believe that Wednesday can be his man anymore. He can't be his man anymore. He don't defend, which has a knock on effect upon the rest of the team, and that's the other day directly to a goal. And no GA. Yeah, I hear you. If we didn't win the league last year, would Stott be sacked by now? You would assume so. I only believe he's still here because he's got credit in the bank. If we didn't win the league last year, no, I think people would be like, look, he's not good enough. I think that would be the viewpoint. But because he won the league, you're like, oh, maybe he's just going through a blip because we saw his best last year. So that would be the way of people would think. I don't agree with that, to be fair. But also, the problem is only Slot. You must be frustrating for Salah. Uh, that he isn't fasting when there should be something to prevent that. No, unfortunately, as you get older, these are the things that naturally happen. And he's not slow. It's just that he's up against fullbacks that in this day and age are super quick. That's the only difference there. So he's not, you know, he's not that old or he's not that slow where he can't play football at the highest level anymore. He can. But I feel like you got to utilize him in a more central position. That's where you get the best out of him. You get more productivity from that kind of role. And look, there could be games where he plays right wing here and there, but not as his sole position. But that's how I see it. Lucy says, yo, add to insults, worst goals and on goal. Yeah, I know. I know. Still hasn't bagged officially. Frustrating. Well, said 14 games, 9 losses, and people think that it's a blip and they are slotting. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I don't agree with us with anyone being slotting. To be fair, like, I can't accept 14 games and 9 defeats. That's not acceptable. But yeah. Okay, let's move on and quickly do the player rating. So let me bring up the graphic. We can go through it together. So, Allison. Allison was really poor today. Really, why is it? I'm gonna get rid of this guy's face. There we go. Um, yeah, Allison was really bad today. Distribution was a little bit off. Made a lot of wayward passes. Couldn't even keep most of his passes in play. His sort of aerial distribution in terms of catching the ball and hitting the ball, mm, not okay. The shot that he saved, where he hit onto the crossbar, it should have been that kind of save. He was very lucky that didn't go inside the goal because he pretty much flapped it, like it hit him and it went back. He didn't really parry away, in my opinion. So no, I thought he wasn't at his best at all today. Didn't look comfortable, and yeah, I wasn't impressed with his performance at all today. So in terms of Allison, I'll give him a 4 out of 10. Joe Gomez. I thought Joe Gomez did okay today. He wasn't as good as he was against West Ham, in my opinion. Um, Solid in the first half, but I feel like as the game went on, he looked tired. He got that yellow card, I think, because he just couldn't catch with the player and just did a last ditch professional tackle. Um, so if players, losing their energy like that, then he might not be in contention to start this weekend. So for Joey, um, I thought he was okay. So I'm going to give him. I'll give him a 6 out of 10. Maybe that's a little bit higher, but I didn't think he was that bad today. Just gonna go through some of the comments. Yeah, feel free to let me know your scores as well, guys. Wayne says Ali looked shaky all game. Yeah, agree. Actually, there wasn't any player that was over 6 for me. Versus the only one. Yeah, I hear you on that one. There's 5 for Ali. I think 5 for Joe Gomez. Tanate. Tanate was better than he has been, but then again, that's not really a difficult task. He had a very tricky customer in Broby that he was defending against today, a physical battle. But I'll be honest with you, he won most of the battles there. He made one crucial clearance as well. I actually thought he did decent. On the ball, he wasn't really, being progressive with his passing, but kept it steady. So therefore, I'm going to give him 6 out of 10. Now, Van Dijk. I already voiced my issue with him earlier on. Um, he was at fault for the goal. He loses the ball firstly, and then as the player is about to shoot, he turns his back on him, and he keeps doing that, which I find very frustrating as well that he does that. Um, and even throughout the game, he didn't look as dominant as he normally does. Passing was a bit off, to be fair to his standards. So for me, he had a very poor game. So in terms of Van Dijk, I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10. Robertson, I think he did okay, in my opinion. He didn't do anything spectacular. Defensively wasn't a weakness. So for me, I guess an average performance, so therefore I'll give him an average rating. Um, and I think his rating, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. Um, Ball's gone for 5, 4. At least he's got for -2 for Van Dijk. Um, Ball's given his ratings for the other players, so let me do mine and then I'll present Ball's as well. So Bosley, not his best performance today, I would say. But he worked hard for the team. His passing was okay today. One thing that I've been saying for months that he should do more is take more shots, but his shots were a bit wayward today. So overall, decent performance, but nothing for me to say that he was spectacular today. So for his rating, I'm gonna give him a. I'll give him a 6 out of 10 as well. What's going on here? No, Gravenberch. Toulouse is given a 7 for Sabozza, which is fair. Gravenberch, better today, if I'm being honest with you. I thought he was quite poor in that West Ham game. I thought like his first touch was off. Um, his passing was wayward. Today he was better on the ball. There were times where I feel like people weren't making moves in front of him, so he was doing a lot of sideways passes, and then going for the safe option. But that might be due to not being in good form right now. But he worked hard today, and I feel like he did better than he did in the previous game. So I will give him a 6 out of 10 as well. McAllister. McAllister, okay today. Saw slight improvement in his passing. He tried to be a bit more aggressive in his play, but he just doesn't have the legs. It's a sad side because he's been out to be so energetic and a player that can move the ball around. But today, I thought he was quite average. So for his rating, I'll give him a 5 out of 10. Gakpo, um, very hit and miss in the first half. Did well against their fullback in Hume. Um, but for me, he's just very wasteful on the ball in the final third. So not his best performance. So I'm going to give him a 4. 4 out of 10. Of course, I only played one half as well, so I can't give him a very high score. Verts was the positive. If I could take anything from the game, good point here from Deuce is in. McAllister should have scored his LOD. I agree. I don't think he should have scored. You give him a 6. Um, Verts was the more positive player out of the rest of these guys. You can tell he's taking his confidence from the previous game. He's working hard, pressing from the front, good with the control of the ball, laying up passes. Like he just looks like a level above everyone from a technical point of view. So it's just a matter of time that he hits the full sort of level that I expect him, to play in this team and in this league. Unlucky that his goal didn't count as a goal, but in terms of his performance, I thought he was really good today. So I'm going to give him like his shirt number, a 7 out of 10. Isak, starting the game positively, pressed from the front, but as the game went on, kind of fizzled out. He only had one shot that I can remember, which went over the bar. Other than that, he didn't really trouble the keeper. So his influence and his impact in the game was quite minimal. So therefore, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. Let me go through some of the comments. Bowles rating is 3 for Van Dijk, 4 for Robbo, 5 for Szoboszlai, 3 for Gravenberch, 4 for McAllister, 2 for Gakpo, Wirtz a 6 and an Isak 3. Bowles says, when I ask for why people are starting, they say he won the league title last. Yeah, that's not good enough. I'm sorry, that's the past now. What you've done this season is not good enough. You've literally suffered 9 defeats in the last 14 games, as you mentioned earlier on. That is simply not acceptable for Liverpool. Bo says people are slagging off Isak while when Haaland is the exact same player. You don't see the type of striker if they don't get the ball and chances. Today he didn't get a service. So no. Against West Ham he pressed, and I feel like because he applied more energy in his game, he was finding himself in better positions. Today he pressed well from the beginning, but then I feel like he kind of faded away, maybe because he wasn't involved. And then when Salah came on, his impact completely fizzled out. And you question, can these two actually play together? I think they can, but they're not showing it, so it might not be the case. But also, Isak is not Bobby Firmino, two different types. Yep, Isak doesn't drop deep to collect the ball. Ekatike can do that. Isak is on that profile, so no, totally agree with you. But also, Slot is not an LFC manager. No, I don't think he is either. All right, let's talk about subs. We actually made 5 subs today. So Gakpo was replaced by Salah. I'll try and get these players in their correct positions very shortly. Jones came on for Joe Gomez. And then you have Ekitike for McAllister. Geza for Isak. And then the final solution was Kirkes for Robertson. So I guess towards the end of the game, we end up playing a more of a traditional sort of 4-4-2 formation. So let me just put down screen. And then you've got yeah, so I guess this is the closest we can get. So let's start with who do we start with? Salah. Oh, not as impactful at all today. Of course, got on the ball quite a bit, but like he just doesn't have any end product anymore. He doesn't know if he wants to shoot or pass, and when he produces it, it's just either hitting with less power or he's overhit it. He's just not in rhythm right now, and his inclusion didn't help because it made Wirtz play on the left wing, and I feel like Wirtz was more influential in the more central role, so it kind of ruined the dynamics of the team. Um, so for Salah, go for 3 out of 10. Jones. I actually thought Jones had a very positive impact in the game. He showed more drive, more energy, more determination, and it felt like he was really playing for the badge today. Now, people question his qualities and all that sort of stuff, but you can't deny his application today. He was definitely trying to work hard and playing at right back as well. And of course, that the goal that came from his progressive pass that led to Flores being in that position. So therefore, you know, I can't ask for more in that regards. I thought he was very positive when he came on. and looked assured in that role as well. So for me, I give him a 6 out of 10 for his impact. Okay, TK. There was a couple moments where he was attacking the left channel. Um, Tried to produce a couple crosses, didn't come off, unfortunately. Um, but wasn't as impactful as he has been in recent times. So for me, he gets a 4 out of 10. Chiesa, and that's what you call impact from your sub. Every pass that he made was purposeful. He showed aggression in his play, i.e., he was pressing from the front. He was running around. He literally attacked the ball, and the goalkeeper produced a sublime pass, and then their striker was through on goal. He was the only player to run back and make that block. And quite frankly, that block has saved Slot from getting sacked today. Because that should have been a goal. That should have been a 2-1 win for Sunderland. But he saved us. He saved the coach. Although he probably shouldn't save the coach, but he's a professional, so he's doing what's best for the team. And it could have been a different case scenario if he hadn't made that block. So therefore, it might sound silly, gets an 8. He saved the day. Just as good as scoring a goal, in my opinion. So then again, if he didn't save it, then maybe Slot would have been sacked now. But I'm gonna go based on what he did. He gets an 8 from me. And the final player is Kirkes. Had very minimal impact. Made a few passes here and there. So I can't really give him a huge rating. So I'm gonna give him a 4. Excuse me, a 4 out of 10. Um, and that is my player rating. Um, so let me read the final comments before we close the show. What was the last comment? Bo says he doesn't understand the crowd in City. Then get him out. Well, with agreeing with what you said, that Slot doesn't feel like a LFC manager. Yeah, I've been feeling like that for quite a while, to be fair. Apologies for my cough today, guys. Bo says Salah 2, Jones 5, Chiesa 6, Ekitike 4. Yeah, I just got gas about Chiesa. Um, Chiesa saved Slot's job tonight. Also, imagine if he didn't try and let the goal in. I don't even blame him, to be fair, but he's the model professional, so I don't expect nothing less from him. Bo said that would be amazing, Steve. Bo said will Salah start versus Leeds Aussie? I actually feel so. I hope he doesn't. So Bozla isn't playing, to his capabilities in that role, but then to change the formation around. You don't have to play Sabozla in that way. Play a 4-4-2 diamond, play Isak Ekitike up top, Verts as your number 10, then you play Groundwork in the single pivot, you play McAllister on the left hand side of your midfield three, Sabozla on the right, 2 fullbacks, Kirkes or Robertson, whoever he wants to choose, and hopefully Conor Bradley or Joe Gomez as your options there, and maybe pro Ramsey in there, even though I don't think he will do that. Then you got Virgil Canate, but by default, because we don't have any other centre backs, you got Ali and Go. So that's the right setup for me, but he's not going to do that. So let's see. Jess, big up Jess. She says, um, whole team stunk tonight. Shine out of tackles, bad passes, baggy touches. How Gakpo is here, and Diaz isn't continues to puzzle me. Yeah, the Diaz one is always going to be a talking point because um, I don't think he should have left. But then again, from his point of view, I think he wanted to leave the club for some time because he wasn't valued by the hierarchy. He wasn't given the right salary that he believed that he deserved. So the writing was always on the wall that he wanted to leave. But if the management had a different tone for him, where they said, "Look, you had a great season for us. we want you to stay, and then this is what we're willing to offer. And if we met his requirements, he would have stayed because he would have been in a club where he's happy and he's able to play his football. But my problem is that we've sold him, but we haven't replaced him. And I'm not going to accept that Rio was his replacement because he's a kid. Can't put a kid in that situation where he's, replacing a player that was pretty much in our team week in, week out. Doesn't make sense. So yeah, but I agree. We were just so slow in everything we did in terms of, one-on-one duels. I said this in the match preview. If we're not winning those battles, those 50-50 battles, forget about it. We're not going to get anything from this game. And we showed no heart, no desire, nothing in this game. And that's the minimum that you expect. Even when players are in terrible form and they can't score, they can't do certain things, you always say to these players, work hard. Work hard for the team because the crowd will support you. Because when they see that you're working hard and you're doing all you can in terms of applying effort, you will get your respect. But none of these players are doing it, so they don't deserve our respect right now. Delulu Steve said, "Oh, Diogo would have been 29 today. Rest in peace to Diogo Jota." Boss says, when you are an LFC manager, a draw at Enfield is the same as a loss. Should not matter at all. Get him out. I agree with you there, Bo. Bo says, suppose that Jones and Endo in midfield for me versus Leeds. I'm so surprised Endo does not get any game whatsoever. Like, you need a player like an Endo to just be disruptive to the opposition. Whether he's man marking the attacking player or striker number 10, whatever the role is, you've got to have someone to protect the back four because I think we've been very open in midfield. So much so that you've got players like Gravenberg who've had, more of a free role. That's why I think he's like in the top 5 in terms of goals and assists for us. He's supposed to be our number 6. So why is he being given that freedom? He should be protecting the back four, in my opinion. So Endo for me needs to be involved, whether it's sparingly in terms of the last 10, 20 minutes or a rare start here and there. He needs to be involved. He's not had a touch of the football at all. So, oh, I don't know. Very, very frustrating. And I'm sure he feels it. And then, because last year he was like, look, I think he wanted to leave in the summer, but he thought, you know what, I played such a big role towards the end where what's going on? Then I just heard some random voice in the background. But I think with Endo, because he knew he somehow got the coach's faith and he was utilized a little bit more. He thought, you know what, if that is my role, I don't mind it as long as I'm involved because I want to play for this team whenever needed. So if that allows us to be successful, he doesn't mind playing that rotational role. And you need more of the professionals like that in your squad, but he's not been used at all. So I can probably tell he's definitely going to leave end of this season. It's not even a question now because he's been mistreated yet again. Slot didn't fancy him when he first joined due to his hard work and application in training. He changed his opinion, turned it around. Uh, so for me, it's got to be a thing where you should kind of give him that same energy again, i.e., play him when we need him. So I don't know. I don't know. This coach has just lost the faith of all the players in this team because not everyone knows their role, and that is a shame. But also, did you see that Slot said that a Sunderland goal wasn't even a chance? If that was a chance, we had 20 chances. He said, "Is this guy blind or stupid?" I reckon both. Don't listen to what he's got to say. Just says, "No, you're 100% right." Both said, "Leeds have one job at Sunday. Let's finish it now. Give us a Christmas present early. Why not?" Both said, "For me, the players feel like a full player on the Slot, but with club, they feel like a human being. Do you think so?" Yeah, and there are a lot of coaches like that where they don't have the interpersonal skills with their squad. Maybe because they feel like they don't need to be friends with the players. There's a structure. I'm the boss. You're the players. You do what I say in a very sort of democratic way. That's what they want to do. So I don't agree with that, but that is somehow the way some managers, you know, engage in terms of being a bit off their place sort of thing. But I don't know. With Klopp, you felt like there was a togetherness, and we're all in it together. And he's the leader, but he's like the father figure and also the friend, but not the best friend. That's something he said in the past. I'm not going to be your best friend, but I'll always be there for you as a friend, if that makes sense. So, because sometimes you gotta give that sort of tough love. When a player's been terrible, you gotta tell them how it is. But when they've done well, you support them as well. You don't really get that kind of relationship with Slot and the players, in my opinion. So no, I agree. Do you see also who's that tall man standing behind you? Top his nose behind me, bloody hell! I got a ghost in my house. Um, just as crazy how simple it seems when it's laid out, isn't it? I'm not Slot out, but if you and I can see the answers to problems he seems to struggle with continuously, is he the right man? But who's better? Yes, you're right. Like in terms of we see the weaknesses, we see the issues, but I feel like he's in such a puzzle state of mind. Like he's just overcomplicating the tactics. I think he's too sort of fixated in implementing his philosophy because the media and the fans pretty much say that the team that won the league last season was was a Klopp team. It wasn't a Slot team. So that might hurt his pride a little bit. So therefore, if that is the case, then he thought to this summer, I'm going all in. We're gonna do it my way. But you can't change a style of play dramatically like that. You have to slowly embed it as the time goes on. So that's why I feel like because of that, I think he's lost the plot a little bit. And it's a shame in terms of what he's achieved last year, but I think he's been very naive thinking that these players are just going to work like that. Because we could look at Klopp. Whenever Klopp made signings, he slowly transitioned them into the team. Why is that? Because the players that we sign, they're not working as hard in training as they are in previous clubs because our play was based on intensity and being relentless in our pressing. So you have to learn the way, you have to get accommodated or accustomed, I should say, to fulfill those physical requirements. You've got to press and you've got to train the same way you would play in a game. So, of course, different ideologies and stuff like that. But I think he's done too much in terms of the tactical aspects of the game with the squad. And therefore, the players are a bit lost because it might be one week where we're playing the same style that we played last year. And there might be another match where it's a new way or completely different tactic altogether. So there's confusion. There's no consistency in terms of what he wants from the players. It's a bit annoying. Excuse me. Boss says suggest he's not the right man. 9 lost in 14 is not good enough. I totally agree. Saturday, I mean, oh yes, it's a 5:30 kickoff UK time. Boss says Klopp is like Michael Scott from The Office. He sees his players like family. It's those coaches that get success, not this ego and arrogant crap. Totally agree. Look at the best coaches of the years, like Mourinho, whether you like him or not. His players would die for that coach. Like a lot of players, Didier Drogba has said that in interviews that I would run through a brick wall for his manager, and that's what differentiates those type of coaches to your tacticians or your average coaches because it's a it's a it's a psychological thing as well where to get the best out of someone, you have to motivate them. You have to uplift them as well. So sometimes there'll be certain players that are not feeling confident about themselves, but you gotta make them feel like they're the best player in the world, and that's how you get the best out of players. So it's so many different levels of from a psychological point of view, but also man management. Some players can take hard criticism, but there are some players that can't. So you need to know what type of personality an individual is. Is he someone that if I go hard on him and say, look, you were terrible, you were this and that, they might take that negative energy and then put it out on the pitch in a positive way. But there will be some players that will, curl up in the corner because you've insulted them or you've disrespected them or devalued them. Some players just need a hug or some words of encouragement. So it's just managing player to player. You can't just manage the same way collectively. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, we definitely missed that level of man management. So I feel like whoever comes in um, has to be a leader, but also needs to have strong man management skills, in my opinion. Well, since I saw the signing video of Endo recently, you can see how happy both him and Klopp were. They were family now with Slot. They are colleagues, yeah, that's true. Both said Pep, Klopp, Simeone, Inzaghi, those are the managers that actually love their players like human beings. Yeah, they're passionate. They are emotional coaches, but it's in the right place if that makes sense. It's not from an egotistical point of view. Just says, sorry, boy, I didn't see that message in slowly being forced out into the he had to go corner. Sunderland have done well bits. It's everything Sunderland. That's true. They come up via the playoff. 1 p.m. Pound squad unacceptable. Yeah. Bo says Slot gets sacked on Sunday. What would you do, Ozzy? I'll be happy. That's the first thing. But then I'll be intrigued. What do we do next? Because it's all good and well sacking him, but we need to have an idea what is going to happen going forward, and it needs to be the right man in charge for this club. So yeah, let's see if that occurs. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me give some shouts before we close the show. Shout out to Bo, shout out to Wayne, shout out to Kratos, shout out to Kamar, shout out to Laurie, shout out to Abdul, shout out to Delirious Steve. Who else do we have? Shout out to Jess. And I think that's it. Apologies if I missed you. If you have already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Actually, I've got a few more comments. They both said, which manager will you take? If available, I would go for Alonso. If he's not available right now, Jurgen Klopp or Steven Gerrard. Does that be based on availability? If Jurgen Klopp saying no, I don't want to coach. I'm done. I'd go for Steven Gerrard just to bring that good feel factor back to the club. Bring him on an interim and kind of making it clear that even if you win the Champions League, you're still going to be interim. That's something that has to be communicated because as much as I love Gerrard as a player, as a manager, I don't know if he's at the level to manage Liverpool, if that makes sense. So yeah, that would be my options. Did you see? Steve said 9 hour live stream incoming. 9 hour stream. Here we go. Wait to big up Ozzy and chat, big up yourself. And Bell said if it's on Sunday, Klopp or Gerrard, would Gerrard take the job, Ozzy? I bloody hope so. Then we don't have many options, but I think he would. I think he'll do it for the love of the club. Also, to be honest, I don't like Michael Edwards. He's like an idiot and arrogant crap. Well, let's hope he does the right thing and brings in the right person because that will determine how the club is going forward. So yeah, let's see what happens. In terms of upcoming show, guys, I'll be doing a match preview of Leeds United versus Liverpool tomorrow, and then we'll do the watch along on Saturday with the match reaction as well. So, ah, I've not even had 24 hours to go over this raw slash defeat. It feels like to me. But yeah, we'll talk in more detail tomorrow. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all tomorrow. Goodbye.